my youth work requires us to be extremely patient, and also for us to not judge the book by its cover, and we don't jump straight into pointing out the wrongs of the youth itself. So I guess these are some of the areas that really helps me uh, to handle my children. I think parenting, the parents themselves, they need to know that it's not that, oh, I want to have children 很容易 oh, talk about I want to have kids and that's it. Then after that, oh, okay, 丢给 childcare, throw 给学校 that kind of thing, and that's it. No, it's more than that. Um, the words is very powerful. Words itself is like, it can be like a weapon. Words can build, words can tear. So this is some of the things that I've learned through my years of working with youth.
Let's go. All right. Welcome everyone to our Two Dads podcast once again. And today we have yet another special guest joining our podcast. So this person is someone I've known for 20 years, as long as I've known CK, because during our schooling days. This man has been in the social service space for many years. And currently he's a counselor at the Institute of Technical Education in Singapore. And he is also actively giving his time to youth, serving as a Boys Brigade officer. And I tell you what, CK, on top of that, he is also actively giving his time to the nation. Guess what? He is volunteering his time in the Singapore Police Force as a volunteer special constabulary officer. So without further ado, let us welcome Jonathan.
All right,
Hello.
welcome.
Hello, hi guys.
Hi,
Thanks for
Jonathan.
inviting me.
Hey,
I will give you some introduction. Maybe you would like to, share a little bit more about yourself.
Oh,
Then we can
okay,
turn on the music.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm 48 this year, very old one. I'm currently working at IT College Central, so I'm a school counselor. I'm a father of two, so my elder daughter is P4, and I have a younger son, 3 years old. Yeah, 3 plus years old. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Father of two.
Best of both worlds. One daughter, one son, you mentioned?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
It is.
So maybe Jonathan, could you share with us, your journey into youth work, because you have been involved in youth work since I was a youth, right? And even way before that. And that's how I know Jonathan, because I was also in Boys Brigade and he was my officer, punishing me here and there for 4 years non-stop.
Okay, so my journey in youth work, I think it started when I became an officer in Boys Brigade. So I was a baby boy, and after I graduated, I decided to continue to help out my BD company. Back then I was at Woodland Secondary School. So the interest came from there. As I continued to train my juniors and others, and I realized that actually it's quite fun, doing this kind of work with the youngsters, inspiring them, mentoring them, etc. But back then, I still did not know that there's such thing as social work, because I was a student from IT. I'm an IT student myself. But the courses that I studied has nothing to do with youth work. It was like office skill, if I'm not wrong. So it's like administrative. It was only later when I almost finished serving my NS, that I discovered that there's such thing called social work, and social work component part of it is also working with youth. Yeah, so that was when I kind of decided to venture into the area of youth work. That was back in 2005. Yeah, so I got a job in this organization called Care Corner as a social work assistant. But because I don't have the relevant qualification, so I wasn't able to do a very direct kind of social work with the youth. But I was able to still run programs with the social workers, and from there gain my experience. And of course, subsequently, I went for my further studies to get my degree in counseling, and then eventually my master's in social work. So that's how I kind of paved the way of working with youths from 2005 to now. Yeah.
Wow. So, and all this came before your kids, right? For sure, because you said one was 3 years
Definitely.
old. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
where did you find this passion when it comes to social work, and what made you pick? Because there are many kinds of social work, right? It can be for adults and stuff, but why specifically youth?
I guess is the interest that I think I got from BB. I mentioned
Mm,
that I did a lot of mentoring work with them, and as I was exploring the area of youth work, I realized that there is a lot of very jialat cases, like I say, those youth that been in a very difficult situation, have grew up in a very unfortunate environment that they
mm,
don't have a positive role model that comes in to
mm,
support them, to help them. And that's where I have the passion, the compassion, rather. I felt for them, and I feel that I wanted to do more. And that's where I began to venture a little bit deeper into the youth work that does a
mm,
lot of counseling, does a lot of case management,
mm,
a lot with uh, delinquents, youth who committed offences, etc., etc. But because of course my BB side, the boys normally are quite guai lah. Most of them are quite guai. So it's kind of like a switch from a bit more guai kind of mentoring to
mm,
you have to deal with those a little bit more to the extreme end. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, I guess I can kind of understand where you're coming from. So, a bit of context. In uni days, my university kind of encourages us to do all the community work and
Mm,
volunteer work, right? So I had the chance to volunteer at CARE. So this children empowerment, children at risk empowerment, right? This
mm,
is an organization.
mm,
So when you deal with kids, when the kids open up to you and they start to share their heartfelt stories, share the problems, where they're coming from, and you have a real opportunity to actually help them,
mm,
steer away from the bad path.
yeah.
It's good for the kids, but it's also very fulfilling
Mm,
as a person who can impact such lives,
mm.
at such a fragile stage. So I can totally understand where you're coming from. Has this journey, impacted the way you parent your kids?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Maybe,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So because I had the opportunity to understand how they grew up, and therefore I was able to learn what are some of the do's and don'ts as a parent that you should be. And in fact, back then I was only like when I started working, I was only like 20.
Mm,
No girlfriend, nothing. But yet, the experience got me thinking. Telling myself, okay, next time as a father, these are the things I should not be doing. These are the things I should be
mm,
doing. So that helped kind of pave the way, like, for me to work towards fatherhood. I mean, I'm not a perfect father, definitely.
yeah.
Till now, I'm
None,
still not a perfect father. But at
none of
least
us
there's
are.
some,
Not a
yeah,
perfect
yeah,
father too.
yeah.
There's
So,
only one
but
perfect father out there.
yes, amen.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah, definitely. So, but at least that gave me some idea, as I begin to have my own kids, what are some of the things that I should be doing, like as young as when they are a toddler all the way. Yeah.
Mm. Any special events, occurrences, during your time as a social worker or counselor, that you actually brought into your parenting style?
I think my youth work requires us to be extremely patient,
Mm,
and also for us to not judge the book by its cover, and we don't jump straight into pointing out the wrongs of the youth itself. So I guess these are some of the areas that really helps me uh, to handle my children. You know, I mean, kids, they can make a lot of mistakes. They do a lot of funny stuff, and they will trigger you off. They will piss you off, and,
yes.
and, and really test your boundary. Lah. So that patient, thankfully, I have trained. It's like you go for martial art, wow, you whack trainer, and then suddenly you go for a live match, that kind of thing. Yeah. So thankfully I'm well equipped to kind of like spar with my kids. Yeah. And to look beyond what they are doing, because I think a lot of time we are very tempted to say that, like for example, my daughter will throw things around when she was much younger. Then normally you're like, oh, Faulkner, why do you throw this and start scolding? But I pause myself and I ask myself, okay, so why is she doing this? Perhaps it's because she's still very young, not immature. Maybe she thought that it's fun. And then the approach of how do I teach her, then that comes in differently. So I don't go in very aggressively, but I kind of use another angle to work with them. Yeah.
Wow. Aloysius, I'm not sure if you noticed something. So from the past 2 podcasts that we had, right, or the past 3 podcasts we had, the same topic always came up, which is patience can be trained. So,
Yeah.
well, Jonathan, I'm not sure if you heard our previous podcast, but this has been a recurring topic, how to become a better parent is, patience, right? But then where do I get patience? How do I obtain patience, right? And yeah, you just gave a very good case study of patience. You can actually train for it, and you are clearly very well equipped to show patience to kids. So yeah, I just got goosebumps thinking about it. Right, three different podcasts, 3 different guests, but all mentioned the same thing. So yeah, wow.
Yeah. Talking about patience, Jonathan, has there been any occurrence you actually lose patience to your kids? Because I tell you, I have many occasions.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Ayo, so many times. I guess it's usually when I'm tired and when I'm not in a very self-aware mode. You get what I'm saying? Because especially when after work you come back, because I'm doing counseling work, so a lot of my mental capacity, my physical tiredness, all comes together, come back home together. Unfortunately, sometimes, especially when I'm packed with cases, so that will be the time if then my kids do something funny or they start to sing opera and all this thing. Times where you just let it out. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. So there were times where my gut is down. But if I'm not very tired, uh, and when things happen, usually my self-awareness will be there, will be very high. So I will not jump in straight to bite them, scold them, and things like that. Yeah, I'll take time to reflect and to think of what are some of the ways to better manage.
Yeah. I can understand what Jonathan is saying because he deals with people, counseling them, right? So I'm a HR professional. I also deal with people in the workplace. So sometimes you have so much to deal with at work, and you come home, it's very easy to just bam. Yeah. And yeah, it happens a lot of time for myself. And really, I think the past 2 episodes taught me a lot to change. And even today is a third reminder. It's really something really, to be patient. And I'm trying, just like what Jonathan said, right? Not a perfect dad yet because so much thing to learn. Even till today, 4 years of being dad, I'm still learning. And I think Jonathan also still learning after being so many years of dad. Yeah, different journey. So Jonathan, you talk about do's and don'ts earlier on. You understand, how you grow up and you learn some stuff, in the early days of to remind yourself when you become a dad yourself, what are the do's and don'ts that you have learned? Can you share maybe, 1 or 2 of these?
Okay. I think number 1 will be not jumping into scolding the kids straight away. Maybe because a lot of time we are very reactive, you see. So one wrong thing, we get angry, we just straight away jump. So I think number 1 is to have a very strong sense of self-awareness, telling yourself that they are still young. There's a reason why they are reacting this way, and find out what is the reason, and then use a more appropriate method to work with the kids. So that's number 1. Number 2 is I'm always very careful with the words that I use. Yeah, because to me, the words is very powerful. But words itself is like, it can be like a weapon. Words can build, words can tear. So this is some of the things that I've learned through my years of working with youth. And in fact, a lot of them, unfortunately, at home, the parents are not very nice. They will say a lot of tearing, kind of very painful kind of words and comments from when they were very young all the way, to their teenage years. And it causes a lot of psychological effects on them. It affects their self-esteem. So this is something that I'm also very, very careful, which is the things that I say, the words that I use. Make sure that it's constructive, make sure it's able to build them up instead of tearing them down. So these are the two main things that I use it from my work experience to handle my kids.
So in Singapore, you always often hear parents jokingly tell their children, right? The children ask them, Dad, Mom, where do I come from? They always say, oh, I pick you up from the rubbish bin at the void deck. Is there something you think that it's okay to just jokingly tell the kids? Because, I've heard it, probably you have heard it too, and a lot of our generation of kids would have heard that too.
Oh yeah, my parents also told me I cannot pick up from a rubbish bin, so when I was young. I think it really depends on the context. I feel that if, let's say, there is a very good rapport between the parents and the child, and their rapport is like very jokingly, the parents will always say some silly stuff to make them laugh and all this. I think that's fine because you have certain rapport. But I feel that it shouldn't be done it when they were very young. When they are still trying, they're still very immature, they're still trying to build their own sense of surrounding and love. And even if you are jokingly saying, but the kids can take it very well. I also work with very young children when I was in Care Corner, beside youth. I work with like P1, P2, P3 kids. And a lot of time they cannot differentiate between jokes or serious. So whatever things that you say out, whether your parents or whether your teachers, they will take it as a whole. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think have to really depends on the context. Itself. Yeah.
Yeah. As a Cantonese, right, we are being called char siu. They say when you give birth to a piece of char siu, you're worth more than giving birth to you. That's the saying.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah, you know how direct the Cantonese are.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I heard that before. Yes, the char siu story.
Yeah. So I think maybe I'll just.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I think it's quite interesting that not only you have the counseling, for working together with the youth, right? But then you also volunteer in the Singapore Police Force, right? SPF, Volunteer Special Constabulary Officer, right? So maybe share a bit what you do there. Why do you also volunteer there? And working with kids, it's not easy, right? I think this question is leading up to all the working adults and working parents out there, right? How do you actually balance your time between working with youth, and then doing your volunteer job in SPF, going back home, taking care of your kids, So there's got to be a lot you have to weigh, right?
Yeah. Okay, for me, I think it's a lot of really planning my calendar, my schedule properly. So for SPF, how it started is because they approached me because I served my NS with the police force. So during my last cycle, they actually contacted me saying that, hey, we started this counseling unit, to work with NSF, PNSF, Police National Service full-time, who have committed disciplinary offense or even criminal offense, and they went PB, and then they come out of it, and then they want to do some form of therapeutic work with them. So that's how it started. So I say that, yeah, sure, why not? Because they have my records, they know that I study and I work in the social service sector. So I that's how I volunteer with them. So that's part. And of course, I have to extend it because back then I only had like one cycle left. So I asked them like, one cycle, what can I do for y'all? Say, then you extend extend Well, I think very long though. I was thinking about until when I asked them, questions like, do I have to do IPPT and cheating and this kind of stuff? They say, oh, highly recommended. So basically, actually,
It's a yes.
I signed. How many years I signed for you? Okay, but anyway, that's how I started, to do. So I've been doing that for the past 10 over years, really. Yeah, because I finished when I was 13. Then in ITE, recently I got to be appointed as one of the ordinary inspector under the BSc scheme, like what Malaysia was saying. So how it came about was because MOE and the SPF, they have this kind of collaboration where they train lecturers, teachers to be police officers in a sense, and therefore they have this chance to work directly with those at-risk youth in schools or even handling disciplinary cases. So when I came to ITE, I heard about this scheme and I told them, hey, I have police background. I in my NS time I do counselling, so I'm very very interested in wanting to do work with at-risk youth, because in ITE a little bit different from Care Corner is that the student that comes to us are all willing students. That means they have issues, they'll come in, we work with them. But in Care Corner, I had this opportunity to work with at-risk youth sent by the police because they did, for example, short theft. They're here for 6 months and all these things. So in ITE, I didn't really have that opportunity to work with at-risk youth. So until when I found out that, hey, there's this HON, they call it HON BSc scheme. That's how I get myself involved. And so not that bad, because I mean that period of hours of work, 8 hours, that's where I work with the kid, work somewhere with the youth and things like that. And when I come back home, I will be always conscious, telling myself that, okay, I don't want to bring whatever burden I have, from the youth that I got from them, and bring it over back home. So I'll try to so-called cleanse myself before I leave the office, and mentally, like that, emotionally. And then when I go back to kids, it's kind of like, okay, different kind of setting. Yeah. So it's like wearing different hats. So when in the school, I wear the counselor hat, but when I go back home, I'll take out the counselor hat and I'll wear the father hat. Yeah. So that's how I kind of split myself up.
How do you just easily switch? Because sometimes it's so difficult, right? And from last episode, we heard from one of our guests that he talks about doing breath work helps because, like in the olden days, samurai go for war and they come back, they need to remove their shield, their armor as a form of significance to say that, I'm no longer a warrior, I'm coming back to my family as a father. Yeah. So for your case, how you do it, because sometimes it's so gray that it's so difficult to just, take off the hat and put on the other one that quick within a span of, let's say, 30 to 40 minutes. Because if your workplace is nearby, sometimes it's even within 10 minutes. Yeah.
I will usually spend about like 10-15 minutes to unwind myself, especially when I was doing packing. So I think because for me, self-awareness is very important. So I will tune into myself, like my current state, like whether am I tired, what am I thinking right now. Okay, so after I go back home, usually what happened, So then I prepare myself mentally, and always telling myself that, okay, so I'm going back home to face my kids, because I drive. So along the way, as I drove, I also can use that kind of spare time to kind of mentally prepare myself to tell, okay, I'm going back home. They are not my students. I should not, do counseling on them. And my wife, my wife is a social worker. Yeah, so we always warn each other, hey, I'm your husband, I'm not your client, Yeah. Then my wife will say, hey, I'm your wife, I'm not your student, So okay. So we have to pace ourselves and to do that. So I'll spend that couple of minutes. It does help to like what that previous it's like what the previous guest speaker said. Yeah, it's true, man. You're taking out the armor, but for me, it's more of like mentally preparing, like taking out changing the head or wrongs.
Yes.
To all the wives out there, forgive your husbands for staying in the car an extra 15 minutes when they reach home.
Very important. Yeah.
Very important.
Very important.
Sometimes I just reach the car park, right? It's like I just sit in the car and I don't know what I'm doing.
Stone, no? You just stone there, right?
Yeah.
Just stone there.
Sometimes my wife asks me, "Hey, you downstairs, why still don't come home?" Don't know.
Now you know.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, share with us, how do you actually juggle between so many stuff, because you're also a Boys Brigade officer.
Mm.
Your next weekend is going to get burned as well. So how do you get so much buy-in from your wife as well as your kids? To say that, hey, my dad is going to be away for that period, and every Saturday you're going to be away in the morning half a day, and that's also very precious time, because most of the time weekend is reserved for family, because Monday to Friday you're already so much involved in work, and there's only that few hours in the evening for the family.
Yeah. I really appreciate my wife. I think before I committed to be in the BB, I did spoke to my wife about it, because to me BB is like a ministry, So I want to serve my church, and I want to serve the community. So, and because I already have that background, that experience, why not, But of course, I spoke to my wife, and I did share with her. I said that family always still comes first. So there are times where my family needs me, and I'm supposed to go down for a week, and I will have to then apologize to my teacher in charge, and also even my PT officer. Hey guys, I'm so sorry, last minute, I need to support my wife. So I think my wife, she understands that there is certain limit in a sense, where I cannot so siao on, keep chongling, serving until my kids forget who I am, that kind of thing. Yeah, so I have to balance that out. Yeah, so I think communication with my wife pretty important, and she's always updated about what I'm doing. Yeah, and sometimes we'll check in with each other to see that, hey, this Saturday I'm going for parade. Is there anything that you need my help and all this? Then she'll let me know. If no, then go ahead. Then I'll go for a parade. Yeah.
Okay. I actually, I know, Aloysius, do you have any other follow-up questions? Because I actually have one very burning question I want to
ask before the burning question get.
Yeah. Okay. So this has always been at the back of my mind, because, like I mentioned, I used to work with youth as well, at-risk youth. What to you, through with all your experience, do you think is the biggest difference in a kid turning out okay, and a kid who is most likely going to be at risk of doing something not right? So of course the kid's individual decision is very important, but there is the whole nature nurture discussion, and from my experience, their parents' involvement in the kids' upbringing is very important. Right. So I'm not sure how big a deal that is based on your experience. Maybe you can share a bit about that.
I'm a big advocate for parenting, good parenting, because the kids, when they are born, the first person they see is parents, right? Father and mother. First interaction is also the parents. So if we don't build that kind of strong connection, communication, trust, love, the child, it definitely will affect the way how the kids perceive certain things. Funny that you asked this, because I last time I used to have a case, not my case, but my colleague case, where surprisingly the father is a counselor. The son did a lot of weird stuff and then got caught, and sent for counseling, and we were very puzzled, like, father counselor, you should know what to do, what not to do. But as we begin to find out more, then we realized that the father is a workaholic, he spent a lot of time at work. And even though the father do talk to the kid, but unfortunately, there are some areas in the child life that's missing. And a lot of it I heard from my colleague was the time spent with the child. Yeah. So I strongly believe that it really started basis with the parents themselves, how they go to spend balance up. I know it's not easy, especially if both parents are working. But I still believe that we can at least minimally, put in some time and effort, to at least build that kind of rapport. And then because they will learn from us, they see whatever we talk about, they see whatever what we talk, do, they will learn. I give you an example, like my son. There's one time my wife and I we were scolding my daughter for some matters. And then the next moment we realized that my son go and scold the sister.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's how quick they learn, how quick they catch. And that was when my wife and I were shocked. Like, oops. Okay. And we went back, we talked about it, and we realized that we next time we cannot do that in front of him anymore. Yeah. So it's things like that. You see, the kids really will follow and learn and things like that. And during the course of my study, we also learn about different theories. And one particular theory I really like is it's called human development. So it's by this guy called Eric Erickson. Yeah, so he talks about 8 different stages of development from the infant all the way to old age. And each different stage talks about different the pros and cons. Like, for example, the youth between 12 to 19 talks about identity versus role confusion. So if they are not kind of nurtured well enough, the youth themselves is either you will have a strong sense of knowing who you are, or you will become very confused, and then you start to learn from all the negative aspects that is surrounding our environment. So I prescribe that quite greatly, and I really believe in it because that's how I see the whole spectrum of the work that I've been doing. Yeah. So coming back to what you mentioned, yeah, I think parenting, the parents themselves, they need to know that it's not that, I want to have children, I want to talk about I want to have kids and that's it. Then after that, okay, 丢给 childcare, throw 给学校 and that kind of thing, and that's it. No, it's more than that. Yeah. And I really wish that if even the government or any BWOs have, that compulsory kind of marriage preparation course, right? We should have a parent preparation course as well.
Agree.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I nowadays didn't really see that. Yeah,
Jonathan
because I was sorry.
Jonathan can start one.
It's quite maybe my retirement plan is to start a course. Yeah, I was jokingly talking to my. I remember I was jokingly talking to my colleague before when I was doing this thing called the guidance program. So I work with a lot of youth that committed offense, first-time offenders. They sent by the police, and then I work with them. And a lot of them I felt very sad for them because the parents are really not involved. I want this particular student. I remember I called the parents because the parents have to come down for counseling, so it's part of the criteria. And I remember I called this mom. The mom tell me off straight in my face, saying that this is my son's problem. Can you please don't come and disturb me? I was like, what? In my heart I was thinking, but you're the one who give birth to him, not me. That kind of thing. But of course I never say that. Yeah. So can you see that the disconnect between the parents, and I don't blame him, why he's like that. And as I slowly understand, he was pretty much alone. Only son alone. Parents are always working. They only provide him with money, and that's about it. Then where can they learn? You get me?
Yeah. And I think that's mostly the time they will always go out to find a group of identity because like what Jonathan said, right? They don't have enough time with their parents, and the parents don't even bother and care about their life. And that's when typically they will always say, okay, I have this group of people that cares about me, hang out with me, and we do all the fun stuff together. And that's typically how they get into all the peer pressure, doing the wrong stuff. Yeah. Sorry, CK, you were talking.
No, I was just going to reinforce whatever Jonathan said, because parents, their presence in a child's development is very important, right? If you're not there, then chances are you're not going to catch the moments where those key moments. It just takes like maybe 1 or 2 key moments to really see the child either stay on the right path or just deviate entirely. And it can take a lifetime to get them back if you're lucky, right? So don't waste those key moments. So
So Jonathan earlier talked about he's 3 years old, learning how the Jonathan scolds the sister, right? I have something to share as well, because my 4 years old recently started to scold my 2-year-old kid, and the way he scold is just look like me putting into a 4-year-old body. It's like, then I was like, hey, can you stop imitating how I lecture you to lecture your brother? Because and he always used the way I talk to his brother. It's like that kind of method. It's like, okay, then I started to realize, okay, I need to start to change the way I talk to him. And I think it's still an ongoing process. I cannot change overnight, but I will hold myself accountable, and having people to be accountable in my life to change as well. Because 4 years old only, he know how to talk like how I talk. He know how to lecture like how I lecture. It's like, oh my gosh.
That's why I always say that the kids are like clay, right? Especially like when they are born all the way to 7, 8, or even more, they are like clay, but it's how we want to mold them. But it's still not too late in a sense, especially when they're much younger. So that's where we must quickly catch it and correct it before it becomes solidified. Then when you have to go and break it again, you have to go remold it. Well, that's going to be a very painful process.
At what stage do you think is the most key that if this is not done right, it will be the most challenging? Because you talk about the earlier stage, easier to mold when they're like a clay.
I will say before, when they reach to upper primary. I mean, this is based on my experience when I had my daughter, because by the time, because now she's a P4 now, P4 is really like upper primary. I realized that a lot of her values, a lot of her habits, character, even personality, began to more solidify in a sense. So for me, I feel that before upper primary, I think it's still a very good time for us to mold. And especially when they enter into primary school, that's where they are beginning to expose to even more different kind of influences. Like their classmates the school setting or even outside, student care and things like that. So like my daughter will come, like especially when she started P1 and all these things, she will come and say a lot of things that I was shocked, like, oh, okay, where do you learn this from? This classmate say this, say that. I'm like, oh wow. That's where I had to correct, had to let her know, okay, this is not a very nice word to use, and what does this mean?
Last year my older son is only 3 years old, right? He came back home one day, he just nanny poo poo. It was like, wow.
Same. My son also beginning to do that already.
Oh my god! I tell you, they really pick up all this very easily. And you ask them the meaning, they're like, I don't know, just very fun to talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
So Jonathan, is your daughter already starting to speak Gen Alpha language?
I think so. I think she's now that she's been saying something which I have no idea what she's talking about. I go and Google. That's quite sad. Yeah.
Recently, I also heard a lot, even in my workplace, they started saying like slay. I was like, huh? I mean, I'm at the generation that I don't understand this lingo. And then it's hard to converse, because I work in a place where there's a lot of very young uni grads that just came in, interns who are in poly, uni. And the lingo they use is totally different from the olden times.
Yeah.
Like last time, the lingo still can make sense of it, right? Sometimes it's just English blend with Malay or Indian or blend with dialects, but now it's just like completely don't understand. Yeah.
And you can change very fast also. One moment this trend, the other moment the other trend. Wow, very hard to catch.
I think it's because of the internet era that resources are so easily available. That's why
Right.
they start to change. Which is why nowadays you see TikTok and IG, right? The trend keep changing. The trend will only be there for like a month to two, and then suddenly a new trend come.
Yep.
Yeah. Whereas last time in our era, when there's only YouTube, the trend can last for an entire year. That kind of thing. So different, or even way before when there's no YouTube. Yeah. So different.
Yeah.
Okay, before we end off the podcast, I got just one curious question to ask Jonathan, because Jonathan has been in the film industry for multiple films as a calefare. He has been in Japanese film, he has been in Singapore sitcom Police and Thief, he has been
Wow,
on
that's a long
news
time
also.
ago.
Yeah, a long time ago. He was in the news wearing, and all three occasions are police related. So
Yeah.
I just want to ask,
Fortunately.
because now you are becoming an honorary inspector, right? Would there be an upcoming, surprise of you putting on uniform and be on the TV again?
No lah. I hope not. That's like long time ago lah. No more already. No more already. I
Why?
kind of like, I won't say distant lah, but no longer really work with them back then. Yeah. So yeah lah. I mean back then, because they know that I serve NS in police force. So every time when there's this, then I got uniform somewhere. So it's like free kind of like a wardrobe dress for them. Then they will engage me and things like that. But I think yes, but more than 10 over years since the last time when they tried to engage me.
Yeah.
No. Don't do that. Even have, I say sorry, I cannot anyhow make use of SPF stuff. It's like
Yeah. If anybody interested to find out, I'll let you know which film he's in. Yeah,
Oh no. It's embarrassing. Okay.
Okay. So usually we end off with advice, pun intended, to really share, some advice, not to tell people that this is the best, but it's something for you to take home. And if it resonates with you, you can take it and learn. But if it doesn't, so be it. But one day you may come back and find that it's useful for you. So Jonathan, do you have any advice for fellow dads or soon to be dads, or any parents out there?
Wow, that advice. Let me think. I think it's important to enjoy the journey, and also to be prepared for ups and downs. Having children is definitely not easy. Sometimes it really drains mentally, drains physically and things like that. But I think important is that we don't lose ourselves. Important is that we don't allow the anger or allow all the destructive language, or your personality to come in and destroy your kids in a sense. Because like I mentioned, especially when the kids are so young, whatever things that we do, whatever things that we say is going to imprint upon them. So I think it's very important for us to be constantly to be self-aware of our own emotions, self-aware of our own thinking, the way how we speak as well. I mean, of course, there will definitely be time. Even for myself, I scolded my kids, quite a number of times, and it is okay. Don't get too guilty or beat yourself up. But just remember, every time when you do that, it's a good reflection of telling yourself that, okay, next time I'm not going to do that. Next time I have to be careful of what I say. I personally, I find it helps. It helps to build my confidence as a father. It helps to sharpen my parenting skills, and sometimes you even come up with new ideas on how to handle your kids. Yeah. So I guess this is the advice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic stuff.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan.
No problem.
And thank you, listeners, to tuning in to listen to Jonathan having this conversation with us. And we hope you have learned some things. I think this journey of parenting is not easy; still an ongoing process. So press on. I think we are all in this journey together as parents, as dads, as mom. So I think, like what Jonathan has said, self-awareness is very important. So thank you once again, Jonathan, for joining us in our podcast. And
Thank you.
listeners, if you are interested and like our content, continue to follow us, share and like our podcast, and drop any comments if you have any questions or anything that you want to listen to, or any topics relating to dads and parenting. And we'll be more than happy to cover any topics that is relevant. Well, thank you and goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.